How to bury the hatchet to supersize your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and our idiom today is bury the hatchet. Now, of course, I don't have a hatchet anymore. I moved out of my house in the country where I actually did have a hatchet in the garage because hatchets come in handy for chopping wood or banging on things when you can't find the hammer. Hatchets are a handy tool. Bury the hatchets and bury the hatchet. This particular idiom comes from the time of American Indians, and at least they think it does, when American Indians would actually, when they settled an argument or ended a war with one of their enemies, they would have a ceremony in which they literally buried the tomahawks and the hatchets and the other weapons as a sign of peace between the parties, that the fighting was over and that there was going to be a time of peace and they were going to get along. Now, of course, if they went back to war or stopped getting along, they would unbury their weapons and go back to battling. But by the 1800s, this idiom came to mean, this expression was popular in at least the United States, and came to mean whenever an argument was settled, to settle an argument, to become friends with a former enemy, things like that. Well, what does this have to do with our businesses? I'm curious, have you ever buried the hatchet and actually become friends with an enemy? I have. I remember in college there was a girl and I that we had an ongoing battle and competition over grades and things when everybody was pitted against one another to get the best grades and the best positions for different projects and things that we would be assigned to. She and I had this like ongoing battle, and we finally, we kind of didn't like each other at first, and then we ended up being best friends because we buried the hatchet. We realized that together we could take on all the guys and we could actually beat them more often by working together than when we were competing against one another. So that's an example of burying the hatchet. We bury the hatchet when we resolve issues that are a challenge within our organization. Negotiations to me are a huge opportunity to bury the hatchet. Negotiations, it used to be believed that, one party would win, another party would lose. And then I learned about win-win solutions and finding solutions where everybody wins. And negotiating got to be a game and got to be really, really fun for me, because there's nothing more rewarding than walking away from a negotiation, a contract negotiation or a work negotiation or whatever, when both sides feel like they've won. And guess what? Both sides can win. Contracts, mediations, settlements, etc. Been involved actually in more of those than I care to admit in my lifetime. But for the most part, I've always left them feeling better than when I came. Not always, but almost always. There's been a couple of rare exceptions to that. So how do you bury the hatchet in your organization? Sometimes you find yourself being a referee between people that work in your organization. Sometimes you find yourself being a referee, or you need a referee between you and a competitor. And we can solve and resolve many of those things by communicating, by sharing our expectations, by actually getting to know one another. So often when we have disagreements and arguments, or are upset with someone else or about something else, it's because we don't have the information. We don't have all the facts. We don't really know what's going on. So a lot of times getting more information will allow us to bury the hatchet. One of the coolest, smartest, strategic things you can do in business is to actually bury the hatchet and team up with people that would traditionally be considered your competitors, both in and outside of your industry. If you team up and form partnerships with people that are your competitors, you can create win-win situations for both you and your competitors, and better serve the customers that you both are wanting to serve anyway. So instead of competing against each other and fighting over market share, you can join forces in creative ways and serve more clients better than you could. The synergy is created when people come together. So burying the hatchet with competitors is a real positive and productive strategy. It's why businesses go out and they buy up all of their competitors. It's one of the fastest ways to grow and supersize your business. Another way I think that we need to bury the hatchet is to acknowledge and mark milestones in our businesses and our companies. Sometimes we forget to do that. And the other thing that the burying the hatchet reminds me of is that forgiveness and letting things go it's always a choice that we have. And the truth is, the person that forgives always wins. I didn't say forget. I said the person that forgives somebody's mistake or somebody's misdeed wins, it doesn't mean we forget that it happened. It doesn't mean we don't learn the lesson from it, but we let go of the negative energy and the negative charge that can infest our business and our energy and make it harder for us to go forward. So remember to let go of things that don't serve you anymore and to forgive people for the mistakes that they make. And that's a form of burying the hatchet too. Just settling an argument, settling a disagreement, settling anything, improving communication, all ways to bury the hatchet in your organization. Love to know your experience with burying the hatchet. Have you ever said, hey, let's bury the hatchet? I've definitely said to my kids, hey, let's bury the hatchet, meaning let's put this argument to rest and get over it and move on with our lives. Have an amazing day. I'll be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how could you use it in your business right now? Take care.